Everyone wants to be the boss, the one who calls the shots, sits at the head of the table, and makes the final decision. It sounds powerful, doesn't it? That image of authority, people waiting for your command, your approval, your direction. But here's the thing, power doesn't make you a leader. Titles don't inspire people. Positions don't earn loyalty. And fear, no matter how strong it looks, never creates greatness. Some people confuse leadership with control. They think being in charge means they have to prove they're smarter, tougher, or louder than everyone else in the room. But leadership isn't about control. It's about connection. You don't build loyalty by commanding it. You earn it by understanding it. A real leader doesn't need to raise their voice to be heard. Their presence speaks louder than their power ever could. Think about it. We've all worked for that one person who loves to remind everyone who's the boss. Every idea has to go through them. Every mistake gets blamed on someone else. They lead with authority, but without empathy, and it always shows. People might obey, but they don't believe. They might follow, but only because they have to, not because they want to. That's not leadership. That's compliance dressed up as respect. Now picture the opposite. Someone who walks into a room and without saying a word, people sit up, listen, and feel inspired. Not because they fear them, but because they trust them. They know this person will challenge them, support them, and stand with them no matter what. That's the energy of a true leader. It's not loud, it's not forced, it's earned. The difference between a boss and a leader is subtle, but it changes everything. A boss measures success by results. A leader measures success by growth. A boss demands performance. A leader develops potential. A boss says, I. A leader says, we. And when you start to see that difference, you realize that leadership isn't about being above people. It's about standing beside them. Leadership is not a throne you sit on. It's a responsibility you carry. The moment you believe people exist to serve your vision is the moment you stop being a leader. Because real leaders don't create followers, they create believers. They don't need to remind others who's in charge, because their actions already prove it. The old idea of the boss belongs to a world that valued control over collaboration. But today, leadership has evolved. The people you lead don't just want direction. They want meaning. They don't want someone who orders them around. They want someone who helps them see why their work matters. That's where real leadership begins. Not in authority, but in authenticity. So maybe it's time to challenge that old image of success, the one where leadership means dominance, distance, and decision-making from above. Maybe the strongest leaders aren't those who hold the most power, but those who empower the people around them. And that shift, that quiet transformation, is what separates the boss from the leader. Leadership is not about power, it's about purpose. It's not about managing tasks, it's about moving people. Too often we mistake authority for influence, but the two couldn't be more different. Authority is given by a title. Influence is earned through trust. Anyone can be assigned the role of a manager, but not everyone can rise to the level of a leader. Because leadership doesn't begin with a position. It begins with a mindset. Real leadership is human. It's grounded in empathy, built on connection, and driven by vision. The best leaders understand that people don't follow plans. They follow belief. They don't stay loyal because of company policies. They stay loyal because of how you make them feel. You can have all the strategies, metrics, and systems in the world, but if you don't have the heart to lead people, those systems will eventually fail. Leadership, at its core, is about igniting something within others. A sense of purpose that pushes them to grow beyond what they thought was possible. A true leader knows that leadership isn't about standing in front, it's about standing with your people. It's not about being the smartest person in the room. It's about being the person who helps others discover their own brilliance. When you focus on developing people instead of directing them, you stop managing effort and start unlocking potential. That's the quiet power of leadership. It multiplies the strength of everyone around you. And here's the truth that so many overlook. Leadership is not about being liked, but about being respected. And respect doesn't come from fear, it comes from fairness. It comes from showing consistency when others lose balance, from keeping your word when it would be easier to break it, from listening even when you disagree. People don't remember every decision you make, but they'll always remember how you made them feel in the process. The essence of real leadership is emotional intelligence, the ability to read the room, to sense the unspoken, to understand what drives people at their core. Great leaders know that every person has a story, and if you want to lead them, you have to learn it. They make time to listen, not to respond, but to understand. Because leadership without empathy is like a body without a heartbeat. It might look alive, but it isn't moving anyone forward. Real leaders don't motivate through pressure. They inspire through purpose. They don't push people toward goals. They pull them toward a vision that feels personal and possible. They give meaning to the mission. They remind people that they're not just part of a company or a team. They're part of something bigger. That's what drives commitment. That's what builds belief. True leadership is not found in giving commands. It's found in giving courage. It's about creating a space where people feel safe to fail, learn, and rise again. Because when people feel seen and supported, they don't just follow instructions, they bring their best selves to the table. And that's when real transformation happens. Not through authority, but through authenticity. Leadership is not about building your image. It's about building others. It's about helping people discover strength they didn't know they had. The essence of leadership lives in that quiet, powerful moment when someone looks at you and says, "Because of you, I didn't give up." That's not management, that's impact, and that is the heartbeat of real leadership. There's a story that perfectly captures the essence of what real leadership looks like, the kind that doesn't shout, but speaks volumes through action. It's about a young manager at a growing tech company. The team had been working on a major product launch for months, pulling long nights, skipping weekends, pushing harder than they ever had before. But a week before the release, everything fell apart. A critical bug appeared in the software, and after 48 hours of failed attempts, panic began to spread through the team. Fingers pointed, tempers rose, and the atmosphere in the room turned heavy with blame and fear. Everyone looked to the manager for answers, for orders, for someone to take control. He could have done what many bosses do, assign blame, tighten control, and demand results. But instead, he took a deep breath, looked at his exhausted team, and said something none of them expected. "We're not failing, we're learning, and I take responsibility for where we are." Then he turned the conversation around. He didn't ask, "Who messed this up?" He asked, "What can we learn from this, and how do we fix it together?" The room fell silent for a moment. Then slowly, one by one, people began to speak up. Ideas started flowing again. Energy came back. The same team that was on the verge of breaking down started believing they could still pull it off, and they did. They didn't just fix the problem, they rebuilt trust, communication, and confidence in each other. The product launched on time, and it became one of the company's most successful releases. But what mattered most wasn't the launch itself. It was the moment their leader decided to take ownership instead of control. That's when leadership shined. Because true leadership isn't about standing tall when everything's going right. It's about standing firm when everything's falling apart. That story isn't unique to business. You see it in sports, in classrooms, even in families. Think of a coach whose team keeps losing. He could yell, punish, or intimidate, but instead, he gathers his players and says, "I believe in you." Those 4 words change everything. They turn pressure into purpose. They shift the energy from fear to faith. And suddenly, the same people who were doubting themselves start playing with heart again. That's what leadership does. It awakens belief where fear once lived. Real leadership shows up in moments of uncertainty. It's when you choose to guide instead of control, to lift instead of blame, to listen instead of lecture. It's not about perfection, it's about presence. It's in the quiet confidence of the leader who doesn't need to dominate the room to make an impact. It's in the way they look at their team after a setback and say, "We're still in this." The truth is, anyone can lead when things are easy, but only real leaders rise when things get hard. Because when pressure hits, authority cracks, but character shines. And in that moment, people don't follow you because they have to. They follow you because they want to. They trust your calm when everything feels uncertain. They feel your faith when theirs is fading. That's the magic of leadership. It turns chaos into clarity and fear into fuel. That young manager didn't just lead his team through a crisis. He taught them what leadership looks like in action, not by giving orders, but by giving ownership, not by demanding excellence, but by inspiring it. And that's where leadership truly shines, in the moments when people stop working for you and start working with you because they believe in the vision you've helped them see. Every great leader understands that leadership is not a formula, it's a feeling. It's the invisible thread that connects hearts before it commands hands. The core of great leadership lies in 4 simple but powerful forces: empathy, vision, communication, and empowerment. These are not just traits, they are disciplines. They are practiced every day, often in silence, often when no one is watching. They are what separate those who manage work from those who move people. Empathy is where leadership begins. It's the ability to step into someone else's world and see through their eyes, to understand their fears, their motivations, and their dreams. The best leaders don't just care about performance, they care about people. They know that when people feel seen, they give more of themselves. Empathy builds connection, and connection builds trust, the foundation on which every great team stands. Without empathy, leadership becomes mechanical. With it, leadership becomes magnetic, because people will always remember how you made them feel before they remember what you asked them to do. Then comes vision, the force that turns effort into direction. A great leader doesn't just react to the present, they see the future that others can't yet imagine. Vision isn't about predicting trends or chasing success, it's about painting a picture of what could be and helping others believe in it. When a leader speaks with vision, they don't just talk about goals, they ignite purpose. They help their team understand why their work matters. And once people see the why, the how becomes a shared mission, not a set of instructions. Communication is the bridge between vision and reality. Great leaders don't just talk, they listen. They create space for voices, ideas, and even dissent. Because communication isn't about transmitting information, it's about building alignment. It's about clarity. It's about ensuring that every person on the team feels both heard and understood. The strongest leaders speak in ways that simplify the complex, clarify the uncertain, and unify the divided. Their words don't just direct, they connect. But the final and perhaps most powerful pillar of great leadership is empowerment. It's easy to lead when you hold the spotlight. It's harder to lead when you share it. Yet that's exactly what real leaders do. They lift others higher. They trust their people to take ownership, to make decisions, to grow, even if it means stepping out of the way. Empowerment isn't about letting go of responsibility. It's about letting go of control. It's the belief that leadership isn't measured by how many people serve you, but by how many you serve. When you empower others, you multiply leadership instead of hoarding it. These 4 elements, empathy, vision, communication, empowerment, don't work in isolation. They form a rhythm. Empathy helps you understand your people. Vision gives them direction. Communication keeps them aligned. Empowerment helps them grow. Together, they create an unstoppable force, a culture where people don't just follow instructions, but follow inspiration. Great leadership is not about perfection. It's about consistency. It's about showing up with heart, with humility, and with hope, even when things get tough. Because people don't expect their leaders to be flawless. They expect them to be real. They want to see that you care, that you believe, that you're willing to walk beside them rather than above them. When you embody these lessons, leadership stops being something you do and becomes something you are. It becomes the quiet strength that drives teams to dream bigger, work harder, and believe deeper. Not because they have to, but because they want to. If you truly want to lead, stop chasing power. Power fades, titles change, authority can be taken away. But purpose lasts. Purpose is what separates those who command attention from those who create impact. When you lead with purpose, people don't just hear you, they feel you. They see that your vision isn't about control, it's about contribution. They sense that your mission isn't about being important, it's about making a difference. And that energy, that authenticity is what draws people towards you, not because they have to follow, but because they want to believe. Leading with purpose means shifting your mindset from how can I win to how can we grow? It's not about standing on top of others to reach success. It's about lifting others so that everyone rises together. The greatest leaders don't measure their worth by how many people serve them. They measure it by how many lives they've helped change. They understand that true leadership is not about being in the spotlight, but about sharing it. It's not about having all the answers, but about asking the right questions, the kind that make people think bigger, dream wider, and act bolder. Purpose-driven leadership is contagious. It inspires effort without force and loyalty without obligation. When people see you leading with heart, not ego, they start to mirror that energy. They begin to care, not just about their tasks, but about the mission. They start showing up differently, not for the paycheck, not for the recognition, but for the belief that what they're doing matters. And that's when leadership transcends management. It becomes a movement. The truth is, anyone can use authority to make people comply, but only purpose can make people commit. You can demand obedience, but you can't demand passion. You can assign work, but you can't assign belief. That comes from purpose, from showing people that what they do has meaning beyond the metrics, beyond the deadlines, beyond the job itself. The most powerful leaders know that people don't give their best when they're told to. They give their best when they want to. To lead with purpose is to lead with integrity. It means keeping your values steady when the pressure rises. It means doing what's right even when it's not easy or popular. It's about showing people that leadership isn't about power over others. It's about responsibility for others. And that's where true influence is born, because power might get people to move, but purpose gets them to believe. When you lead with purpose, you stop chasing success, and success starts following you. You stop trying to prove your worth, and instead, you start living it. People don't follow your position. They follow your passion. They follow your consistency, your vision, your courage to care, even when it's inconvenient. Purpose doesn't just change how you lead. It changes who you are while you lead. And in the end, that's the difference between those who lead for applause and those who lead for impact. One fades when the lights go out, the other keeps shining long after they're gone. Because purpose-driven leadership doesn't just build businesses, it builds people. It creates legacies that outlive the title, outlast the authority, and outshine the boss. It's the quiet fire that keeps burning, not to control others, but to light the way forward.